Carson Wentz hits the off-season, pre-training camp break full of optimism about his rehab from his ACL tear. He is infusing the Eagles and their fan base with the same enthusiasm. Among his last words to reporters at their veteran minicamp last week, "My goal is still targeting Week 1. Ambitious goals like that from the franchise quarterback are great. Except when they're not." Navigating Wentz's return was always going to be a minefield for the QB and the Eagles. Of course, that goes for every return from serious injury, every return from an ACL, and every return from an ACL by the biggest piece of the team's foundation. No one really wants to temper Wentz's enthusiasm, but no one wants to risk sending him back out there when he isn't ready, no matter how convincing he is or how much he has poured into getting back. NFL QB rankings: Wentz cracks top 5 for 2018. The Eagles are treading lightly, Wentz is too, but not quite as lightly. All understandable. After all, this should sound familiar to them. It was only 5 years ago that "all in for Week 1" was the phrase of the NFL summer right down the road in Washington. Robert Griffin III's situation in 2013 was not exactly apples to apples with that of Wentz. If nothing else, Wentz has not turned his into a shoe company marketing campaign, but pretending there are no similarities is foolish. The same issues are at stake. The notion that everything between Griffin and his team would disintegrate as completely and as quickly as it did seemed inconceivable that summer, coming off of that previous breakout season and with the cash he had in the eyes of the public. He could do no wrong. Coming back from total knee reconstruction that early, in his case in 8 months, compared to the 9 Wentz is aiming for, not only didn't seem like a stretch at best or a reckless act at worst, it came off as an admirable goal and a testament to Griffin's character. The Griffin story went sour for many other reasons besides the QB not being as ready as he thought he would be by Week 1. But it's still reality that he wasn't ready. More NFL rankings, stadiums, coaches, GMs. By all accounts, Wentz looked great in OTAs and minicamp. The biggest football-related news to emerge during the week the Eagles were in the national headlines over their aborted White House trip 2 weeks ago was Wentz advancing to 7-on-7 drills earlier than anticipated. This PhillyVoice.com video compilation points out the noticeable improvement from the start of off-season workouts until the last session. Coach Doug Peterson has been a voice of reason. He has had to be. It's impossible to avoid the question, just as it's crazy not to ask it. "I'm not going to put myself in a box that way," Peterson said last week about what he'll expect when training camp opens next month. "I'm just going to see how it unfolds, quite honestly. We'll prepare and get our guys ready, and if they're ready, great. If not, we'll move on from there, too." In his defense, of course, Peterson has a cushion Mike Shanahan and Washington did not have in 2013, Nick Foles, the Super Bowl MVP and someone the Eagles trusted long before Wentz tore up his knee. However, that only causes a different potential headache than the one Shanahan had. Watch, Peterson talks Wentz recovery, and that's not to cast Shanahan, whose negligence during that fateful January 2013 playoff game helped put Griffin in that situation in the first place, in a sympathetic light. He still had the chance to keep the drive to get his quarterback on the field on opening day night, in his case, in check. Time revealed their coach-quarterback dynamic to be as toxic as could be. There's zero sign of that in Philadelphia. But the Eagles are facing an uncomfortable dilemma. It's not a win-win for them, really, even though they do have the Foles option. Wentz has a lot of leverage and pulls a lot of weight, and deservedly so. franchises have been derailed plenty of times when franchise players and their teams don't see eye to eye about injuries, rehab and readiness to play. Knees are fragile, so are relationships, and so are defenses of Super Bowl crowns. There are no signs that everyone's not on the same page about Wentz, his knee and Week 1. But Week 1 is 3 months away. That's a lot of time to see who is all in, and who is not.